Good morning to all. On behalf of Deer Park and all the participants here, let me have the privilege to welcome Rinpoche. I think it's a very rare occasion for us because Rinpoche has given many teachings in the Deer Park, but the Bardo teaching is for the first time. So I think we are very privileged to have that this morning. When the sun is rising, the air is cool, the surrounding is so beautiful. I think it seems that it is very befitting environment. Just for the information, the format of the teaching, we have decided that since the subject is a bit new to some of the people, we had an introduction of this yesterday by Khyentse Sonamji, and then there's the teaching by Rinpoche, and then at 1:30 to 3, there would be the review session in Manjushri Hall. And yesterday, Kempola was kind enough to say that whatever the question that you have in your mind, you could come out that he would be very happy to discuss and clarify. Well, with that, may I request SP, who is on the board of directors of the Deer Park, to offer Khatak on behalf of Deer Park and all the participants. Well, may I request Rinpoche now?
So, last time when I sat on this spot and taught, I had 2 donkeys, and one or 2 goats. This time, of course, you are here, very welcome. I'm also invoking all the spirits, Bardo beings of the 6th realm, Nagas, Devas, Asuras, those who wish to hear this teaching. Okay, so Bardo is quite a complex teachings, especially taught in the Tantric Buddhism. And And in Tibet, when we talk about 6 yogas, I'm sorry for those who are absolutely new. Some of these may be very, these jargons, these terms will be very confusing, but you'll have to bear. And I'll try my best to try to present this in common kind of language. Well, you know the word yoga, but yoga is actually quite a big path. Of course, now it has sort of, I don't want to say degenerated too, but it has sort of become mere physical exercise, something like that. But yoga, the technique to generate balance, basically, is a very, very big path. And there are many, what do you call it? Many different yogas. One very popular grouping, if you like, is so-called 6 yogas, coming from great masters such as Telopa, Naropa, and many others. And when we talk about 6 yogas, Bardo, yoga of the Bardo, is an indispensable one. Yoga, I mean, Bardo is a very big subject, especially in the Nyingma school of Tibetan Buddhism. If you are interested, you should explore the great Nyingma master called Karma Lingpa. His teachings on Bardo is very, very extensive. But there are many. To the certain extent, one could say all the Buddha's teachings are Bardo teachings. I know many people think of Bardo, when we talk about the Bardo, we are talking about, a lot of people think it's about what happens after this death. And I'm talking about the common understanding of the death, which is the separation of this present body and the mind. But actually, there's a very small part of the Bardo teaching. People have even talked about like Egyptian Book of Death, you know, and then the Tibetan Book of the Death. I flipped through the Egyptian Book of Death. It does seem to really concentrate more on, you know, what happens after this so-called death that we know of. But Tibetan Bardo teaching, Bardo Turtle, is much more than this. It encompasses basically, in one way, I could say all Buddha's teachings are teachings of Bardo. Okay, I think to really appreciate the Bardo teachings, one thing you need to kind of one thing you one very important thing is we need to kind of at least have some sort of a agreement is maybe not the right word, but common understanding of what do we mean by mind. This is must. If we don't talk about mind, then we cannot talk about Bardo. And this is a very big subject, as you know. Study of mind for Asians, especially in India, is a very big. Thousands of years they have done this. But today, when we talk about mind, I don't know whether you and I have a common understanding when we talk about mind. And I don't know whether we should be really spending time trying to sort of have this, because that's another subject for another day. But right now, what I mean when I say mind is something that a cognizance, not only a cognizance that has not only ability to cognize others, such as me cognizing the cups, but a cognizance that has the ability to cognize itself, self-awareness, self-cognizance. This is important. And when I say cognizance that knows itself, I need to define this. We are not talking about, we are talking about a past or another cognizance. And one cognizance looking at another cognizance. We are not talking about that at all. We are talking about the very cognizance that is doing both so-called subjective and objective function. At least this much, I should tell you, this is what I mean when I say mind, okay? This is, if you don't have that, then the whole Bardo thing, I don't think we can communicate. Then I was thinking about this when I prepared to talk about the Bardo. What is it that we should really prepare ourselves? Then probably the next important thing that you and I need to come to some sort of a common understanding is, what do we mean by relative? Very important, very, very important. And I am quite, I'm 99.99 sure that we will constantly have a misunderstanding. A relative. What do we mean by relative? This is absolutely important. In fact, one could say the study of Buddhist philosophy is a study of relative truth. It's so important, because if we don't know this, many times your mind, no, actually this is what happens. Your heart is thinking about the ultimate truth, but your head is thinking about a relative truth, or vice versa. If this happens, understanding of the teachings such as Bardo is difficult. I just want to tell you this. I'm not going to solve this problem now, because we cannot. It's too big. But along the way, I will sort of point out, maybe we are going through some misunderstanding here. This happens all the time, all the time. I mean, one big thing is this. Oh, Buddhist understanding of dependent arising, agreed. Buddhist philosophy of shunyata, emptiness, agreed. But Buddhist teachings of reincarnation, what is that? This is what many people think. But this is where you are mixing the relative truth and ultimate truth. Because no Buddhist asserts, no Buddhist believe there is a reincarnation ultimately. Relatively, conventionally, Buddhists believe there is a reincarnation, just as how I believe there is 100 head on the 100 shoulder right now. This is just a relative. But of course, we could argue about this more, you know. Really hard thinking, oh no, this, I can feel it. I can feel this. Here's my head. How can this be relative? See, your heart is talking about ultimate truth, but your lips is talking about relative truth, or vice versa. This happens a lot. So keep this in mind, and then we talk about, of course, we will come back here and come back to this again and again, I believe. So what is the Tibetan word bado? And it is an incredible, Tibetan, I should not say Tibetan, Indian, because that's where it came from, Anyway, words like bardo is an incredibly crafted word. I can just imagine the great Mahasiddhas and the Panditas. Obviously, they must have done out of their meditative power, but let's say today, in today's case, they may have spent hours and hours how to just come up with these two words, bar and do. It's such a, from one angle, it is one of the most incredible trick word. It's a trick. It is just so and beautifully crafted and short. Bardo, it's not like, it doesn't have this big words like psychoanalysis. You don't even need that. Bardo. And what does it mean? Something so simple. It means simple yet complex. Bar usually means in the middle, not here, not there. Neither here, not here, not here, but in the middle. Do could refer to junction, crossing, junction, where you make the decision, go right or left or straight or back. That kind of junction. Now, so what are we talking about? We are talking about a lot of things. Let's talk something very practical. So when we talk about the bardo, what are we pointing at? We are pointing at this very moment. This is bardo. This very moment. Okay, do you want more definition? This very moment, cognizance. This is the bardo. And why? Because it happens to be in the middle of the past and the future. But Did you know what I said earlier? It's a trick. Because there is no such thing as the past and the future. So it's a made up term, bardo. Why do we make up? Because there's a lot of idiots who need to be communicated. You need to create language. You need to create all these categories. You need to create all these like distinctions. Okay, first this, second this, and then this. That's why. Even as you think about the past, you are only doing it now. Even when you are thinking about the future, you are only doing it now. Okay, so what do we have? Just this moment? No. If you don't have this, and if you don't have this, how can you have this? The middle. This is why bardo, the whole bardo is a trick. It doesn't exist, actually. But when I say it doesn't exist, again, here, see, danger of relative truth and ultimate truth mixing. No, it exists. See, I hear the bird. I can feel it here right now. What is this? So this is one grand way of understanding the bardo. In other words, you are always in the bardo. You are always in the middle of the junction. But keep in mind, there's no right, no left, no front, no back. This imaginary middle, imaginary gap. Okay, just some ideas. Just keep that there. Now, so now let's try to present this more like a, how should I put it? Buddhist yogi. Okay. You know, there are a lot of different kinds of Buddhists. You know, there are Buddhist scholars, there's Buddhist yogis, then there's a cultural Buddhist, you know, there are like fanatical Buddhists, there are like emotional Buddhists, there are like, there's so many. There's like bipolar Buddhists, there are, what do you call it? Bulimic Buddhists, so many. And they will, you know, so let's talk about Buddhist yogi. What would they say? What is the definition of bardo in their mind? In their mind, bardo is this. They think that we have always been perfect. Never. True nature is always perfect. Remember Buddha nature stuff? Always. But then we departed from that delusion. And then you practice, meditate, go to, I don't know, yogas, vipassanas, all this kind of thing, and then come back to Buddha nature. That's a bardo. Did you know? Remember, bardo means in between this and this. So from the yogi's point of view, the in between this and this is the Buddha nature, dream, delusion, confusion, fight, this, that, woken up. This is the bardo. You understand? So it's a bit like you are sleeping in Deer Park, some room there, and then you dream, you know, SP with a spider head, Ajir with a, I don't know, sparrow head, Prashant with an elephant nose coming to your room, and you get freaked out. What is this? I thought we checked in a Buddhist institute. But then you wake up. You are peacefully sleeping on the Deer Park bed. Bardo. This is how yogis think. The yogis' way of understanding the, what is it? Bardo is like this. So most probably we will be talking more about the yogis' way of, deciphering the Bardo. I am using two commentaries written. One is written by Tselen Nasorangdru, which is one of the great Nyingmapa master, and the other is actually taught by Japji Dujum Rinpoche, transcribed based on his transcription of one of his teaching. So we will use that, and let's begin. Is there a toilet break or anything like that? When is that? When do we finish this? In the morning? 10 o'clock? Okay. Okay, I will try my best not to use the classic jargon, but some of them we can't help it. We may need to use, but that is good for you also, especially if you want to explore more. Okay, so let's now think about characteristic of Bardo. What is characteristic of Bardo? I don't know whether we should be too academic here. So I'm trying to ponder. Okay. There are several characteristics of Bardo. One is the Tibetan word is loburwa, which means it's very the nature of the characteristic of the Bardo. One of the characteristics of the Bardo is the fact that it's a temporary. This is a big one. It's a temporary. And therefore, it has this sort of fleeting, fading, drifting. And therefore, it produces uncertainty. Okay? And of course, the real characteristic, the essence of all this is they're illusory. This is a big one. And in order for us to understand, Bardo is divided into sort of 6 categories. And I think this morning we can cover all 3 because those, the 3 out of the 6, because I think fairly easy to understand, I would say, but let's see. So, First one, Jeneji Bardo, meaning this. This, what's happening right now, is the Bardo. And this is called I guess existence. It's a very big subject now. Okay, but first let me finish telling you this. Why do we call this Bardo? How do we define? From the time you are born until you so-called separate your body and mind dead. This is Bar, the middle gap, and which is what's happening right now. And I'm teaching you this first because, I mean, not me teaching, usually we always teach this first, many reasons. One, it's the most visible, tangible, understandable, relatable, and it's in your hand. I want to lift my cup, I can do it to a certain extent, okay? Sort of, you have a little bit of a control. You know, in about 15 minutes, we take a toilet break, we can do that. Some control. Now, this also means it is also the most important Bardo because this is your chance. You have a chance. I gave you the example. I have a control to lift the cup. This is amazing. Why? Because this means that I have a control to think, okay, breakfast, lunch, dinner, again breakfast, lunch, dinner, again breakfast, lunch, dinner. Is it really worth it? You understand? Job, bills, promotions, savings. Really? Do you really want to spend our life like this? How about just go to Machu Picchu? How about just, try some, I don't know, whatever, ayahuasca or something. You can do it. I mean, relatively, depending on, this Bardo is also complicated because you have very traditional parents or a girlfriend or a boyfriend will say, no, you can't do that. And then because of the karma, because you have a karma, karmic connection, karmic debt, whatever you want to call it, you have a lot of, what do you call it? Achilles heel? Achilles, yes, you have a lot. You want to just quit your job and go to Machu Picchu, but your boyfriend says, really? And that's it. Okay, no, I will not. Or something. Or your dog. Who is going to look after my dog while I go to Machu Picchu? Stuff like that. There's so many, the karmic connections, karmic strings, karmic, debts. All that need to be taken care of. And then on the top of that, you need to attend to, Instagram. How can you forget this? You need to update yourself. You need to count how many thumbs up, thumbs down, all of this. So this, but still, you do have a bit of a control, right? Giving the chance to this control is what we call practicing the Dharma. That's what it is. Giving chance to practice the, giving yourself a chance to think about the Dharma is what we call practice the Dharma. giving the chance to this control. You know, in the Dharma, we call it Milu Rinpoche, the precious human body. The only reason why it is a precious is supposedly you have a bit of a sense. You can sort of supposedly. But as you by now must have sort of gathered, you know, it's very uncertain. Everything is fleeting. Today, right now, you're good mood. Who knows? This afternoon, it doesn't require much reason or other condition. It could be, I don't know, some color of the paragliders, whatever, the tent or whatever you call it. It could be anything. It could upset your mood, just like that. So it has that whole character of a feather in the wind. It's actually a description. Jadu lungi tekbatar, gadu rawang datar pardu semchen. In Tibetan, jadu, feather in the wind. Not much control also. But compared to many other bardo that I'm going to talk, this you still have some chance. There's that aspect, but there's something more important is something that we need to really pay some attention is the insecurity nature of this existence, insecurity. And this insecurity is such a big subject. I'm just thinking, I don't know, but should we really go into this? Because it is so big and it's so relative. Remember I was telling you relative, very important word. I'll give you one example. You may have a good karma of never ever encountering somebody like Nietzsche. So you say, oh, you know, the God will reign and then, you know, your crop will come and then you will eat this and you will have no existentialist angst. Good karma if you have. And again, good and bad is relative. Bear in mind. But again, with the same reason, if you have a good karma, you may actually meet Nietzsche and read him. Okay, what's the purpose? Why am I here? And then actually you become even more brave and think, anyway, what do we mean by purpose? Who decides this purpose? Why do I have this quest for purpose? Why I'm always wanting to be useful? Why I want to be used? You understand? Why do I have that? So if you explore that, ex-Nietzsche Buddhist can be very good. yogis, sort of, can be very good, very, very deconstructing, and it could be really good. So depends on, karma plays very important role. Anyway, the whole idea of existence. Again, remember I was right at the beginning, I said, our conversation, we cannot have the conversation until we come to some sort of a common understanding of what do we mean by mind. You must think that you exist. That this table doesn't think that it exists. So the table doesn't get left out if we are not using. You don't have that angst of being left out or not used. So anyway, just this thing that is going on right now. Oh, and then you know, under the, in this, you and me, yes, this is a bardo, and our bardo, it's safe to say that you and my bardo is what we call human bardo. I'm assuming all of you are human. So sun is sun for everyone, sky is sky for everyone, sort of common. So here, usually we talk about the sixth perception of the bardo, meaning 6 or 5, doesn't matter. Hell, hungry ghost, God realm, asura, so on and so forth. So by and large, we can say you and I are going through human perception, but we need to define that also more meticulously, because this morning when we get up, you could be going through animal perception, sort of groggy, dull, not knowing where you are, Then you take a shower, wash, shave, whatever, groom, comb, powder, lotions. You feel good. You feel you are presentable. Then you are going through God perception. Then you step out of the room. You see another very well-groomed person. Oh, little bit of jealousy there, So Asura realm, like that. And then you go to the kitchen, breakfast finished. You are too late to get up. Little bit of anger, maybe, hell realm, like that. So the Buddhists, especially in the Mahayana, the 6 realms are very, very, very subjective perception. It's nothing else. Anyway, this is the, what is it? Yeah, this is the first bardo, and I think we talked enough about this. We can come back to this if you want, but it's fairly, this is it. This is what, this is the bardo. And since, okay, this is what happens. We have been in this bardo with the body and mind and with the educations. And then culture, tradition, society, environment. And this all egging each other, so to speak. They really contribute each other and make it more gross, more, what do you call it, more chaotic, also systematic. Like a net of delusion, it becomes so, I will give you one example. Because, I'm a human. I see this as a water. If I'm a fish, I won't see this as a water. And I've been told, cause and condition I'm talking about, I've been told by a doctor, drink water. You have to drink lots of water. And because I have a karmic connection, karmic debt, karmic link with these doctors, I'm also very convinced that, yes, I should drink water. What does this do? It develops cause and condition, which leads to needing to go to pee. You understand? So that's what we are going to do now. Okay, for 10 minutes.
Hello. We have toilet break. So the toilets and washrooms are in the dining area. If you want to go to toilet, you can move to dining area, please. We will come back in 10 minutes. Yeah. आवाज चलो चलते
Mahabodhi Lokana Dipena tamadang sina Ilopetipang sambundang Ujrami tamondang Ganda sambarayuntena Bupina sugandina Puji pujaniyantan Puja bhajana muntaman Vanna ganda gunupitan Itang kusuma santating Pujayami mulinggansa Siripada sarorore Puji vibundang kusumina nina Punyena mitena jahotu mompang Kumpang milayati ataidang me Hayo tatayati vinasabhavang Adivase tuno bhante Paniyam parikampitam Anukampang upadaya Patiganhatu muntamang Adivase tuno bhante Gilana pancayang imang Anukampang upadaya Patiganhatu muntamang Adivase tuno bhante Bojanam parikampitam Anukampang upadaya Patiganhatu muntamang Adivase tuno bhante Pali parikampitam Anukampang upadaya Patiganhatu muntamang Ayena vaca cintena Pamadena maya katang Ancayang kamami bhakti Muripanya tathagata Ayena vaca cintena Pamadena maya Anteyang kamami dhamma Sambindhika kanika Ayena vaca cintena Pamadena maya katang Ancayang kamami sangka Supatipanna Tanhankaro Mahaviro Midankaro Mahayato Saranankaro Lokahito Dipankaro Tutindaro Kundanyo Janapamoko Mangalo Purisasabo Sumano Sumano Diro.
Morning, Rinpoche. Hi, everyone. So we have some questions from Zoom. And can I start? Can we say that abiding in meditation is a state free of self-clinging?
Maybe. It really is difficult.
Next question from Valerie. Dear Rinpoche, upon what you're teaching regarding the bado at the beginning of the teaching, can you explain how we are supposed to go through 49 days of different steps? Can that be just a single moment of a consciousness?
That one is coming tomorrow. From tomorrow onwards, we will be. I was assuming that when people want to hear about the bardo, they're usually talking about this one particular bardo. So we will talk about that.
Is bado the same as dhyana?
That's a tricky question. Yes and no. Actually, one could say, let's be in the bardo. You know, that's actually quite a good question. So I will begin the next session with this question. So can we skip to the next question?
Which two lineages that Rinpoche had mentioned on bardo teaching?
Oh, I was just saying, I'm using Zele Nato Rangdol's text, which explains 4 bardo very extensively. But I'm also using Jabji Dujam Rinpoche's teachings. So I guess both come from Nyingma tradition.
Thank you, Rinpoche. One more question from Angela. Rinpoche, you mentioned, is this all there is to life? I am in the bardo to choose between doing a 3-year retreat or try the monastic path or go back to work. How to choose? I want to make best use of precious human life.
I think do both. I would say both, but maybe do what was the 2 choice? The 3 years.
Between a 3-year retreat or try the monastic path or go back to work. How to choose?
Oh, 3. Okay. I think 3 years retreat and monastic life can be combined. Go to work, right? Go to work.
Or go back to work.
Go back to work. If you really want to work, better do it now, because after 3 years, you will need to update your computer really, really badly. Okay.
Thank you, Rinpoche. That's all.
Okay. So let's just continue. Before I go to the next bardo, see this bardo, what we are talking about, this bardo, and the question, Dhyan. I really want to actually talk about this. Well, actually, this will also come, but since there was a question raised. Okay, so remember, I was saying this bardo that we are experiencing now is perhaps the most important. And the reason why it's important is we have some sort of a control. You can, I mean, some sort of a rangwang, sort of a freedom, kind of a. So how do we make use of this dhyan? I mean, this life, this bardo, develop dhyan. What do we mean by that? Does not necessarily mean go and sit. No, this is something that I want to really emphasize. It could even be, is this all there is? There has to be something more. Even this awkward feeling is dhyan. Because you are questioning, there is a quest, there is a longing for higher truth, you know, this is dhyan. So you are making use of this bardo in a good way. Does not necessarily mean you shave your hair and become monk or nun or do chant this, chant that, or, you know, apply a, I mean, that those can help. Those can be a frame. Those can be some sort of a direction. But more importantly, bringing this awareness. There is so many methods. For instance, like in the monasteries, in the monasteries, they have something called a yarne, which is going to come very soon, especially for the monastery that has many ordained monks. And usually when they do this yarne, a month and a half, or in Thailand or Sri Lanka or Burma, I guess maybe 3 months, when they do that, every day, a disciplined master will have this stick. There's many, many sticks, and and they're counting the days. There's a counting the days. How much retreat? I mean, not just a retreat. You know, the disciplined master will say, this much stick is finished. This much stick is still left. And then he will say, of all the footprints, the mightiest and the most elegant footprint is the elephant's footprint. Of all the discursive thoughts, the mightiest, the most elegant discursive thought is the thought of impermanence. See, you know, even downloading a picture of a Buddha because you have the admiration towards this master who taught us the truth. Even, I don't know, liking for noble truth or anything to do with the truth, that is making use of this bardo fruitfully. You know, this kind of angst, this kind of feeling lost, this kind of a anxiety, in a way, you are having the anxiety, you are having this kind of angst because the true color or the true nature of the bardo, remember, uncertainty, temporariness, that's kicking. That's why. That's why you have the angst. That's why you have the anxiety. It's there. It's a bit like, I mean, you can polish a charcoal and paint, but after paint white or yellow, but you know, it still has its sort of black color, the charcoal color sometimes coming out, and then you quickly try to paint, conceal it. That we can do whenever there is a bit of a, that's what it is for, isn't it? Like shopping, social media, everything, music, friends. It's basically to numb your anxiety. But the anxiety will be there because that's its true color. This life that we have, it's like a, beer plumbing. It leaks, and then you can scotch tape it and paint something white on it, and looks perfect and looks really neat. But sooner or later again it leaks. So this process of painting, fixing, maintaining, either you spend all your this bardo, you spend all this bardo fixing this unfixable. I mean, you can fix a little bit, temporary, that's fine. But thinking, remember I was telling you, your heart is ultimate, but the truth, remember? Thinking that you can fix it all, it's just not going to happen, is it? It's just not going to happen. So investing time, energy, even for a few moments of making use of this bardo to bring the Dhyana, concentration, awareness, mindfulness, is making use of, making fruitful of this bardo. Okay, so the next one. This one, much more complicated. Much more complicated, yeah. It's called bardo of dream. Okay, but first quickly, from the moment you start to dream until you wake up, that's the bardo, obviously. But this one is complicated one. Because the paradoxy of this is quite interesting. The paradoxy of it's there, but it's not there. It's very interesting. And because it's pushed, pulled, and conditioned by this bardo. This waking bardo of waking, let's call it. This bardo, we interact with people, whatever. And then not only that, childhood, of course, childhood trauma, stuff like this. But that's as far as Mr. Freud could go. You ask Nagarjuna, Chandrakirti, you ask Padmasambhava, childhood trauma, you have to go beyond that. Past life trauma. Past life trauma. So now you need the state-of-the-art psychologists who can actually dig 10,000 lifetimes before you may have, I don't know, shoplifted or something. And that sort of itchiness to shoplift, or, like kleptomania, right? It's called kleptomania. Many of us, we have this, you feel really like, don't know what to do with it when you see these things. So these things, how do you deal with that? You need a state, like amazing psychotherapist. But yes, Mr. Freud goes all the way to childhood. That's quite impressive, actually. quite impressive. But here we are talking about Dream Bardo, which has a so much influence of this life, I mean this Bardo, all the way to many, not only a waking Bardo, but a dying Bardo, all of the put it together. Really, it's really interesting. I mean, why the hell do you like dal makhni? If you really think about this, it's really just amazing why we decided to like dal makhni. Why? Or Russian borscht, whatever, doesn't matter. It's like, anyway, this is a bit of a difficult subject. If you want to study this more thoroughly, I would suggest you to study Buddhist subject called Abhidharma. That's where they study Kam. Kam is like a dhatu, the elements. And not just this life's elements. We are talking about different kinds of elements. There's so many, really, just so many. There's things that we like, things that we dislike, things that irritate us, things that makes us embarrassed, things that makes us proud. I mean, even within our human realm, what makes Bhutanese embarrassed makes Americans very proud. You know, what makes Americans feel embarrassed? I don't know, Indians might think it's a really great thing to do. It's all that. Anyway, right now we are talking about a dream. And the dream is a really interesting phenomena. Okay. Now, dream is complicated, okay, interesting partly because in one way, you have a lesser control than this. Because you are sort of, you know, it's not really you, sort of, right? If you win a lottery in the dream, the control to get that, it's going to be complicated. But on the other hand, the Dream Bardo is also very unique and powerful because there you can take much more risk. If you fall from a cliff in the dream, you can train to realize in the middle of the flight, this is a dream. Then you decide, oh, well, this is a dream. Let's just go to Chandigarh and have a look how that architect actually designed. You understand? So then you have more that. And what does this help? It helps you to understand that everything is illusory. Everything is a temporary. And what does that do? It makes you cling less, having less numbness, less, so, you know, all the confusion. So this is why the Dream Bardo, for the yogi, the Dream Bardo, I mean, there's a whole dream yoga, they call it dream yoga exercise that you can do. Which, by the way, I'm sure some of you are itching to know this. I will tell you, you can at least do one thing, which is actually the fundamental thing. When you go to sleep, you should, I mean, especially if you are a Mahayana practitioner, you should think for the benefit of all sentient beings, to awaken all sentient beings, I am going to know I'm dreaming while I'm dreaming. Tell yourself this again and again. And maybe after about a week, you will dream in the dream thinking that I am going to know I am dreaming while I'm dreaming, but you still don't know. You only dream that you are chanting that. That's already a good start. And then there's many, many other tantric practice that you can do. But, okay. Okay, just some technical thing. What happens before the dream? Okay, this may bore some of you who are very new, but still it's kind of important information. So I will just say it. Just before the dream, this bardo will have to dissolve. You know, you can't really sort of have two things going on. It's not right now. Once you become a great, much greater, then yes, you can. But for most of us, this bardo need to be dissolved. This is called, what do you call it? Sleeping like a log. Basically, you know, you will, your eye conscious, you will not see things, right? When you sleep, you don't see, you don't hear, you don't taste. All your consciousness, eye consciousness, ear consciousness has to dwindle down, so to speak. And they will all of this will lie flat or calm down or touch. Okay, the Buddhist jargon, alaya is called. That's where it will come. Okay. Okay, it is possible that just that you continue for 6 hours, and it's called deep sleep, no dream. That's another subject. The sleeping yoga. We are not going to talk about it this time. But let's say everything dissolves into the alaya, but then lung dang sem. Lung means prana and sem means consciousness. You are still breathing. When you are dreaming, you are still breathing. So your body is functioning, your nadi is functioning, your prana is functioning. And because of that, nadi and the prana plus your consciousness, you will have perception in the dream. And then, wow, you will have all kinds of perception. And then the challenge with the dream is because it has order. In the dream, if you dreamt that you walk from Deer Park to the main road, there is going to be an order. By and large. In the dream, if you drink some water, your cup, the dream cup will hold the water. This is a problem. Why? Because in the dream, if the water, dream water, and if the dream cup does not hold the water, then you will think, oh, why is that? But it doesn't. So in the dream, 4 plus 4 is still 8. It's not 9. All this makes it more complicated because you forget that it's dream. Oh, it's there. Now, just apply that to this. So right now, I think it's a real water because it's inside here and the cup is here and it's holding, it's doing its job. It's sensible. It's not chaotic. So this makes things much more real. The logic that you have learned from Oxford, you understand, really makes things real, especially if you got a certificate. Then things have become even validated. stamp. Chinese and Indians love it. They're dying for it, even in the dream. And this makes it so complicated. So complicated. Now, even worse than this, I will tell you, this is a really difficult one. In the dream, you actually dreamt I'm trying to remember. Okay, this may be a little bit politically incorrect, but this is the only thing I can think of. So I was in San Francisco about 10 years ago. Someone said, do I want to try DMT, right? Yeah, this DMT. So okay, why not? So first, I thought I'm going to experiment this with my attendant. So I told him, okay, why don't you try this? He said, okay. So he took this and immediately he fell. And then he got up and he was scratching his head and said, whatever, like he was saying, nobody should do this, that, just for 5 minutes. And then he came back to the sun. And then he was telling me like, so many creatures came and took away his body and always so scary, he said. So he he painted this bleak picture. Okay. Then I thought, oh, because I want to try this. What do I do now with this? So it was already quite late at night. So that, okay, I'm going to do it in the morning. So I kept it here and I slept. And that night, I dreamt. In the place, they have a dog, the actual dog. I'm in wherever I was staying, there was this husky, the husky dog, a very beautiful dog. So before going to bed, I was petting this dog. And anyway, I slept. And in my dream, I have my briefcase with a will. And I was mounted on the will, on the briefcase. And the briefcase has a handle. And this handle, the dog, the husky was dragging my, the suitcase on which I'm sitting. And then like it was in a big highway and there was trucks coming and the dog was going. And suddenly the dog turned and talked to me saying, because before I slept, I was kind of like scared about this DMT. So the dog was telling me, how can you be so scared? Something like, I expected much better from you. Something like this. The dog said, okay, this is true, but I didn't make this up. There's a much more. Anyway, the reason I'm telling you, this is in a way unbelievable. Me riding on my briefcase and husky dragging, but during that time it was working. I was embarrassed that the dog was even like looking down at me. You? How can you be so scared? I expected much better from you. I was feeling, oh yeah, that's true. All of this works. this is even more interesting. Remember, so now apply this to our life. In this life, this actually happens a lot in our life. So much. But anyway, what I'm trying to tell you is as your consciousness dissolve into the alaya, and then logical and quote, okay, illogical event happens in the dream. Now, if you're a great yogi, wow, this is a chance of a lifetime. You can really make use of this bardo of the dream. Anyway, yeah. Meanwhile, you are never moved 1 inch from where you are. But you go through all the experience of fear, hope, anxiety, everything. Well, oh yes. The next morning I did. That's just, by the time I think all the fun got lost, I have a feeling. What Husky experience was, it took over. Really. It wasn't that, exciting, I guess. Here, just to read Dujam Rinpoche's comment. Milam de penangatso tata juma da milam da she sung tenda yin sang ansu milam de mitember tamje chachagi or yintang de temper chachagi. That's see. Every time when you hear in the Buddhist teachings that everything is like an illusion, everything is like a dream, everything is like a mirage, I think tendency of students interpreting this as a negation is very high. But don't. It's not a negation. When the Buddhists say it's an illusion, it does not mean it does not exist. I mean, if you can tune your mind in learning, when the Buddhists say everything is illusion, basically what they are saying is it's a paradox. It's there, but it's not there. This needs to be understood, because if you understood this, because if only when I was in that highway dragged by husky, and if I'm a great yogi, if I know that I was dreaming, I would tell the husky, shut up, what do you know? Or take me to New York or whatever. Because it's there and it's not there. But I didn't have that confidence. So in the dream, I felt very low. Even the dog is beginning to talk to me like this. Okay, that's the second yoga, second bardo of dream. I mean, we can come back to this. I just want to cover it all first, because I think the fourth and the fifth bardo is what I guess many people are more interested. What happens up when I die? Like die as in, separation of this body. But in reality, we are dying all the time. We are having the bardo experience all the time. So there's not much of a difference, but let me do the third one. Bardo of Samadhi. This one. It's a very big subject now. And it's altogether different universe. You know this universe? Bardo of now, Bardo of waking, and Bardo of a dream, kind of a different world, right? Different universe. Related, very related. But Bardo of Samadhi is altogether different universe, altogether different kind, but is related. But first, let's define the Bardo of Samadhi. Bardo of Samadhi is from the time you begin to not, from the time you are not distracted, till you are distracted. And that could be a moment. Right now, this very moment. Remember? Self-consciousness, self-awareness. Crow, distracted. Constantly there's a distraction. So, Bardo of the Samadhi, again, much more complicated now, much more. But before I go to this, I want to tell you something. When I talk about Bardo of Samadhi, I'm sure you guys already, oh, Samadhi. That is what we need to have, isn't it? No, not at all, my dears. Samadhi is temporary, it's uncertain. Remember, all the Bardo character applies. It's just another tripping. This is a trip. You look at me, you have a trip. I look at you, I have a trip. Deer park trip, beer trip, this is a tripping. Of course, a dream is a tripping. Samadhi, I'm sorry to say, but it's a tripping. But it's a very important tripping. It is. Anyway, this is probably something that we need to talk a little bit more. So, okay, how should we begin this? As long as you are not drifted, as long as you are not entangled, as long as you are not and this can happen in many, many different levels. It could come in a most subtle level, like the noise, crow, just the experience. You know, we have experience, and experience are very, very tricky because samadhi experience is a progress. It's a reward. You know, when you have an experience, bliss, whatever, calm. How many people wants to do meditation because they want to be calm? Don't tell this to an authentic yogi. They will think you have gone crazy. Because Calmness is an experience. And experience is like a fish, bait. Experience is, yes, it is a reward. Yes, it is a progress. But the very reward and the progress is also your obstacle. It's easy to understand. If you go upstairs, one step, progress, different view. If you are stuck with that, thinking, aha, this is where I want to be, you are probably even more dangerous zone than the no step, because it is a progress. So the second step that you manage to climb, you should look at, this is from the mouth of the great masters from the Gyupa tradition. You should look at these progress as, not look at, you should treat them as the spit that you spit it on the roadside. Don't even look at it, how it landed on earth or how it is sitting there. Just don't look at it. Just go ahead, more. And then a big entanglement. Wow. Many times we are in the White House trying to sort out the problems in the world. This is how it should be done. They should talk like that. You understand? So we go through all that views and solutions and trying to confirm that by reading or watching those who what do you call like-minded people's comment. And then you get convinced with this. That's how you get distracted. But anyway, okay. So here is actually two kinds of bardo. Okay, whichever you can come, which angle you want to choose is really up to you. Okay, but since we are talking about the bardo of samadhi, we are talking about from the time you are distracted all the way until you are awake, right? But from the other angle, you can say that the distraction is the bardo, but we don't need to really explain this too much because that happened to be what we call life that we are having right now. The normal life, distraction. Moment you have awareness, that's a samadhi. Okay, the first bardo, as a practice, what do you do? Remember, I said for the first bardo, you need to cultivate this longing for the higher truth, so on and so forth. For the second bardo, what do you have? Dream bardo. You want to know it's a dream. That's your practice. But now, for the third bardo, bardo of samadhi, what is your practice? There are many more, but one of the quintessential practice is to shrug off this samadhi. Shrug off. This is a more complicated, more advanced. So you are meditating, you are going through a nice time, calm, peaceful, shrug it off. Spit, remember? shrug it off. But millions of dollars is spent on doing vipassana just to do the opposite, not to shrug off. They want to dwell, calm. Just the sound of that music when the meditation begins, nobody plays like, what do you call it, hard rock just before the vipassana. What does this tell you? What does this tell you? They are arranging to not shrug off. They want you to, but I'm talking in a very, very advanced level, okay? For the beginner level, please don't shrug off, calm. Don't listen to, what is it, hard rock. Listen to, I don't remember those, Kitaro, is it? Who is that? There are like so many calm music. Yeah, lavender smells fantastic. Anything, chime, anything. You can, because, it's still better than roaming around and getting distracted, right? But since we are talking about the procedures of the Bardo, shrugging off is what you are supposed to do it. Okay, so this is the 3 Bardo, I think I loosely, very, very, very roughly. I'm not doing this, of course, as usual, because the time and everything. It's kind of an introduction. I'm not really covering everything. We have like 20 minutes. Should we do some question, or we can also stop here? Sun is so hot, no, for the people. Question? Yeah, those who need to go, you can leave.
Hello, hi. I'm so happy to be here somehow, but do I need to shrug this off as well? Like all the teachings of Bardos, all that exists over here in the universe.
Yes, maybe you can do it in a slow motion. What do you think? Yeah, kind of.
So
Okay.
beautiful. So I had one question from the first characteristic of Bardo, that is Bardo of existence, if I'm not wrong. So I don't know if that would be relevant, but still I want to ask.
Please.
This is sort of the lifetime opportunity to see you. That is the Dharma, giving a chance to have the control in the existence that we have. What should be the Dharma based on?
Very important question, I think. Well, typical Buddhists would say it should be based on wishing to know the truth. And then, of course, they already have the ready-made truth. Do you want to hear? Things like, all compounded things are impermanent, stuff like that. All things, everything is a dukkha, nothing exists independently, so on and so forth.
That's relative.
Yes, very good, very good. And that's already good. This is how you should think. That's a relative. And then that's already shrugging off. Yes, that's. Here, Richard. I think he's going to ask me because I was making comment on Oxford.
Not at all, Rinpoche. Just on shrugging off again, if you're in samadhi and you shrug off, is that the same as questioning? Because shrugging off sounds a bit dualistic, like you'll have to actually determine to shrug off. So you're not really in samadhi then. So in a sense, you're breaking.
No, actually, there are many methods, especially the Sakyapas are very known for this. They even have a phrase called a phrase. Actually, your master may even say, okay, let's say you're meditating, and if your meditation is kind of good, get up and watch Netflix. Because if you continue, you will use that as a reference for tomorrow's meditation. And that's a stupid thing to do because you will never drink the same water.
Okay, so
I'm from the same, yeah.
so in the Mahayana Sutras, pretty much all of them have Buddha goes into a samadhi called blah blah blah,
Yeah.
and he gives a teaching.
Yes, shrugging off.
So is that's the shrugging off?
Yes.
So is the shrugging off conditioned by the samadhi?
For now. This is why the samadhi is also a placebo.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Rinpoche. That's enough.
I was expecting some Oxford defense from us.
Rinpoche, hi.
Yes.
You said that Bardo of Dream and Bardo of this life, they cannot coexist, right? When we go to the Bardo of Dream, the Bardo of this life kind of collapse.
You mean this life, Bardo? Existence?
Yeah.
Okay.
But what about the Bardo of Samadhi? Can they coexist with the Bardo of this life? Or we need to shrug it off?
No.
And
Okay, now you're talking, okay, so all this Bardo, all these 6 Bardo can be practiced in one go. That is the yoga. Yes.
How do you do that?
Oh, wow. Now that requires some answer. Yeah. Sadhanas, all kinds of things. Everything. Hearing, contemplation, meditation, everything. Probably DNTs. Yeah.
Thinking.
Anyway, you know, talking about DNTs, it's thanks to things like DNT. People like these guys, they come into the Dharma. Yes.
Hello,
Okay.
Rinpoche. I always feel like when I go to sleep, it's like a switch off button, and then I get up. Maybe I don't remember the dreams, or it never comes. So is it a good thing to like have, or it's like I need to be like, as you said, the second Bardo, like you need to like keep on.
No, it's nothing good or bad. You just have that kind of, what they will call it is dhatu, meaning element. You are that type. You are that type. Nothing bad, nothing. So it's like this. I mean, if you want to dream, there is methods to invoke the dream, but it's not because there's something lacking. In fact, let's say you are the type that who does not have dream or actual cognizable dream, then actually you will hear this more tomorrow during the Bado of luminosity. So will you be coming here tomorrow? Okay, so maybe wait until then. Bado of luminosity. This is a so important one. I think this is what many people want to also hear. Luminous, yeah. Okay. From the Zoom, okay.
So Rinpoche, one of the persons, Jamyang Wangchuk, he's asking, why do we only see the animal realm and not the other 4 realms?
Like ghost, like I guess.
Yeah.
He should come to India. There's so many gods. And asuras also. Really, there's so many. And animal realm and asura, maybe.
Okay. Some questions on shamatha. So could we use shamatha to experience bardo, and how?
Shamatha is a preliminary practice to, enhance and, like progress the practice of bardo. One could say that.
Caroline Souza asks, there were a few occasions in which I realized that I was dreaming. However, whenever that happens, I have to make an effort not to wake up if I want to try and practice. Is it because I lack shamatha practice?
No, I think I would suggest not to hope to keep on dreaming, because it doesn't matter if you wake up.
All right.
You will most probably sleep.
For a Vajrayana beginner, what is the best practice to do when near death?
Oh, near the death.
Yeah.
Okay, if she can listen also continuously from tomorrow for next 2 days, I think that there's a lot of that coming.
A few more questions on dream yoga. So I have had a few of these dream experiences where I know that I'm in a dream and I try to wake up, but somehow I can't wake up no matter what I do, even if I hit myself. So Rinpoche, how can I wake up in the middle of my dream?
To wake up from the dream is not the most important. Might as well just use that occasion. Because when you wake up from that bardo, you are again back to this bardo. So, so not much of a,
Got it.
and if you can sort of, make use of that bardo, probably, as I said, there's a much more, there's a lot of, there are a lot of things that has a less risk, requiring much less padding. You can fall, still not get hurt. When you wake up to this one. Now, this is important, what we are talking about. You wake up from the dream bardo and you are back to this bardo. You are waking up from the samadhi bardo and then we are into entanglement bardo, which is this life, right? So if you can understand the Buddhist concept of yang si, again exist. That's what it means, again exists. Basically translated as a reincarnation. I think reincarnation is not a good translation, because I think the English word reincarnation is something to do with you already assuming there's a soul that's going from one to another. That is not really like that. It's not really like that. Okay.
Where does the power come from to get out of the bardo?
There's a ready-made answer for that. From the great Lord Maitreya. The greatest power, greatest antidote, greatest medicine, greatest solution is your own Buddha nature. Yes, bank onto that. You don't have to download this one. You don't have to, buy from anywhere. You have it. You really have it. This is what you need to use it. And how do we do it? By really giving chance to this. And how do you do this? Start from the shamatha, just appreciate the self-knowing of the mind. Even for a moment, 2 moments, 3 moments, self-awareness. Mind can do 2 things. It can do one thing, which we use quite a lot, which is knowing other things. But there are something else that mind does, which is much more valuable, which is knowing itself. And this is something that we never, ever use. Give mind the chance. Yeah. Just because it's in my head, I need to express this. If you ask why the Tibetans are going, like crazy with offering lamps, lamp offering, candles, butter lamp offering, there's something to do with this. They say that light can do things, it can illuminate others, but it also illuminate itself. Without it, you don't know it, you don't see it. So light is the closest material thing that symbolize mind. This is why offering lamp. What is the word diya in Hindi? What does that mean?
Clay lamp.
Lamp?
Lamp.
Clamp?
Lamp.
Lamp. How do you say it in Bengali?
Pradeep. Yeah,
Pradeep.
Pradeep.
Okay. Are you finished?
A few more. Is deep sleep kind of death? Like, is deep sleep like death?
Death is a very, very, very loose word. What do we mean by death? Let's be, if you read death, wow. If only, you see, this is the thing. Okay, I got it. I think scientists more or less buys that time is relative, including Mr. Einstein, right? But the moment they talk about death, they seem to totally forget that notion of time is relative. This is how I feel.
Okay.
If it is relative, then it can't be absolute end, because it's relative is not absolute. So death is a very big word. Tibetan word "sendi" nawa nup is a very beautiful word. Lasami, nup means set, sort of sunset, nima nup pise. Sendi nawa nup means that this life, this experience set, it has the connotation of is going to rise again. Sendi nawa nup, sunset, meaning it's going to rise after like 12 hours. Okay.
And the final one, I've dreamt of Rinpoche several times where you scolded this person for being impatient. How should he take this?
Wow. I resonate with this person. Please tell me. Okay,
Thank you,
that's it.
Rinpoche. Yeah.
Okay, can you sing Pule Pule Dole Dole? I'm sure there are a lot of Bengali who will assist you. No?
Okay, I'll try.
Okay.
Fule fule dhole dhole bahe ki bambi Dubai. Fule fule dhole dhole bahe ki bamri Dubai. Totini hillolo tule kollo le choliya jai. Pico ki bakunje kunje kuhu 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 gai. Phule phule dhole dhole bahe ki bamri Dubai. Thank you.
Again, okay.
So somebody from the Zoom asked about a way out from the bardo, and you said Buddha nature. I wanted to ask if I dare, isn't Buddha nature also a bardo?
Yes, we will talk about during the luminosity. That's the whole thing about bardo of luminosity.
Thank you.
It is. What else? That's it. Okay. See you tomorrow around 8 o'clock.
Announcement. So we have a review session by Kempo Punsok in Manjusri Hall at 1:30. So if you are joining this review session, please come before 1:30. And we request everybody to wear mask because of his health reasons. Thank you. Yes. Something.
He and I'm supposed to have a pawn shop, but because of him, it's never really materializing.
We request everybody come by 1:20. Okay, so that everybody is seated before Kempola arrives.
「我以所修诸善根，为利众生愿成佛。诸佛正法先圣僧，直至菩